And we are finally recording. So, welcome everybody to my YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Lillian Chukwueze, and today we have a special guest. Terry, would you mind introducing yourself?
Hello, I am Terry Upshur. I am a Philadelphia and South Jersey real estate agent here. I'm an agent with Compass, Pennsylvania.
Okay, cool. So yeah, today we're going to talk about Terry. He's been doing some great things in real estate, and I really just wanted to highlight his success. Terry, as I mentioned to you before, my YouTube channel is all about basically helping agents, marketing strategies, and just, showing what agents are doing in the community. And I really wanted to highlight you because you've been doing great.
Oh, awesome. Oh,
And
thank you.
you're welcome. You're welcome. So let's get right into it. It's all about you today. So tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and everything about what you do.
Yeah, awesome. Well, first, let me say thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. I always love talking about real estate. I'm so passionate about it. I love what I do. I couldn't say that 12 years ago, but I'll jump into a little bit about me. I am originally from Lewis, Delaware. I grew up down there, went to, high school, blah, blah. I always had an interest in real estate, right? Like I originally wanted to pursue a career in architecture. When I was in high school, everyone told me that that was going to become a dying field. When I was, starting my college search. So I, took a track in engineering instead. Um, Went to University of Delaware, actually hated, engineering as soon as I got there. And I was just like, oh my God, this is not for me. So I then pursued finance and economics. I graduated Bachelor of Science from UD. Immediately upon graduation, I went into the financial services industry. I worked for several major financial institutions: JP Morgan, Chase, Bank of America, Bank of New York, PNC Bank.
Everybody from Delaware works at all those
Everybody from Delaware, yes, yes. Everybody from Delaware has probably spent time at like a bank. Um, but yeah, so I did a little over 10 years in the financial services industry. Did pretty well. Didn't really love it. I felt like I was more or less working for the weekends and for 5 p.m. and vacation. So I just wanted something that I was passionate about, right? And I think that it took for me to really sit down with that. I did go through the process of purchasing my first home as well during this time. And I shopped around when, like through open houses, when I was searching, and popped into some, ran into a couple of real estate agents. Being a person in the LGBTQ community, like it was just kind of one of those things, like I really didn't see representation there. And then also I didn't really see representation from a Black real estate agent, level, right? So that was just something where I was just like, wow, I took note of that. And then also at the same time, it was one of those things I just felt like there wasn't a personal connection to, like myself, my partner, and I during this, process. And that was something that I really felt like I wanted to change for people, right? Because one, I just feel like there's not enough representation on, within the Black community side first and foremost, and then, at the same token on the LGBTQ space, so, or community side. So 2018, I got a license in 2017. Then 6 months later, started full time as a real estate agent, and I've been with it ever since.
Nice. Okay, so a couple things I want to talk about. So you went to school at UD.
Yeah.
I went to Goldie Beacom in Wilmington. Do you know that
school?
school?
Oh yeah. I know Goldie Beacom.
It's like a small school. A lot of people don't know. Literally, there's a shopping center across the street, and I would go there and pick up some things once in a while, and people would be like, "Oh, there's a school across the street!" Like, that's how small it was.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you graduated what year in UD?
Oh my God, I'm dating myself. 2007. I graduated 2007. From UD.
Okay.
Yeah, 2007. I'm old now, Lillian. I'm old.
You're not old, trust me. No, but so okay, so yeah, a lot of people in Delaware, I realized the trend was just like working for a bank.
Mhm.
And not that it's a bad career. Obviously, being in real estate, we are tied to, working with finances or the financial industry. Uh,
Mhm.
but I did see that trend. My story was a little different, but we're gonna focus on yours. But coming from Delaware, then moving to Philly, you bought your first house when?
Bought my first house back in, oh my God, I feel like that's been forever now too. 2015.
Okay, that's not
Mhm.
bad. A couple years ago. So
Yeah, it's a couple years ago, or I feel like it's been quite some time. Bought my first home in Point Breeze.
gotcha, which is like one of your favorite areas.
It is, yeah. I love, Point Breeze has my heart. Love the neighborhood.
That's good. That's good. I mean, you're an expert. So, okay, so you bought your first house in 2015. And so how
Mhm.
was that experience for you? So did you like shop online? Did you go straight to a real estate agent or like what was your experience with that?
We did what a lot of people do. We were shopping uh online through like Redfin, Zillow. We popped into a couple of open houses. We actually had friends in the neighborhood who purchased a couple months before we did. So they, like would send us houses and they were just like, hey, like come check this out. We were at a point where we were needing to move because our landlord over in Bella Vista, or not Bella Vista, the Italian market, East Passyunk, we needed to move because he was going to be selling his home, right? So we were, looking for an apartment. We were newly engaged. We were just like, I don't think we could really afford to buy a home, but we just decided to, go look.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, so we just popped into a few open houses. We did the whole, like Zillow thing, like other people do.
Right.
And then we just decided on an agent at the open house.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's what a lot of people do. That's what the trend is, right?
Mhm.
Kind of like,
Yeah.
some agents get scared and get like kind of threatened by Zillow and all these online sites, but honestly, like the clients are doing like some research online, which is totally fine, and then they come to you with a little more information of, hey, like I like this area, I like this house. Sometimes they have
Mhm.
a specific house that they're looking for, and it makes the process easier for you. So yeah, I mean, there's really nothing to feel threatened by these like big companies because in reality they're kind of helping. So so you started real estate in 2018 because you didn't really
Yes.
see the representation of Black people in the LGBT community in real estate. So you said 6 months later you kind of like kicked your career off. Was that true?
Yeah, so I, got my license in the summer of 2017. Um, and it was one of those things where for me, I don't even think I had got my physical license in the mail yet.
Okay.
And I had my first deal under contract. I did an open house. I met a couple there. They were my first official client. They purchased the house. And yeah, it was one of those things where I jumped in and I was just like, this is what I want. Um, I'm done with corporate America and I'm going to do everything within my power to, like leave. I set a deadline, I drew a line in the sand and I was ready to go. Honestly, if it wasn't for my partner, I probably would have quit day one. I mean, no, not real estate, but quit my job in corporate America day one. I would have quit day one and just jumped in it full time, but I was told to pump my brakes a little bit and put a plan in place in order to be able to, transition to real estate full time.
Yeah, that's smart because me, I did not have a plan in place. Like I just made some money and I jumped all the way in and I was like, yeah, I'm going crazy, But I do
Yeah.
think it's better to have that plan in place, reserves and just, make sure you're good before you jump fully in because it takes some time. And that's what I want to talk about. Like
Does.
some real estate agents, or a lot of real estate agents, they get their license and most times they don't do anything, or they do a
Mhm.
little bit and they expect a lot of results and
Mhm.
fall flat on their face. So to get started in real estate with you, what was like your main strategy to get clients? Was it the open houses that you were sitting?
Yeah, I did my first open house. I wanted to be in front and connect with people and, just talk to them. And that's kind of like how I essentially got started and kicked off. I was heavily telling, people that I was in real estate, who were friends of mine, asking who they knew that were looking to buy. I think I hit like the time when a lot of people in my network were purchasing their first homes.
Okay.
And they were looking for that advice, right? Like, and like they knew that, Jared and I had done it before. They knew that, like I had a little bit of a financial, knowledge and understanding of, how to purchase a home.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was open houses, my sphere of influence. And then honestly, my referral business, because as soon as I, closed on my first deal, that one person, she referred me to, I would say 1 to 2 other people that, level, went down and referred me to like 3 more people. So it was just one of those things that I wanted to make sure that, I treated people well during this process, because you remember the experience that you have, and when you have a great experience, you're going to tell everybody else about it.
Right. No, that's very true. So your thing was, okay, sitting open houses, your sphere of influence, and referrals, right?
And network, right? Like, or networking. I would get out to a lot of different networking events, and just kind of, again, just talk about real estate, talk about why I loved it, why I switched careers. And yeah, that's how I, started to get traction, get business.
Okay. So I guess at what point did you kind of make it like from not necessarily that it was a hobby at first, but from something that was like the one-off referral to like now consistent business? Like how did you kind of grow into that?
I think that, honestly, it was one of those things where I felt the passion from the beginning, right? So like I said before, I drew a line in the sand that said, hey, listen, like I'm going to make this my full-time job. And I think when you throw yourself all in, you're not going to allow yourself to fail. You're going to do everything that it takes to actually have success. And, I think, and I know that this is one of the questions that we are going to come to later, but I think that, like one of the main reasons why I either I've had success, or why B, a lot of other agents struggle, is because there's this grandiose idea when you jump into real estate that, like every deal is going to be, $500,000 or, plus $350,000 plus. And I think like, when I started my real estate career, I did every opportunity. I took advantage of every opportunity in front of me.
Yeah.
Whether it was a rental, whether it was, a person who was spending $125,000, or if they were spending $200,000, I wanted to make sure that I took advantage of every opportunity. One, because I figured that those opportunities were going to lead me to another.
Yep.
And second is just you get the experience, right? So yeah, I think that for me, that's what it took in order to get me to the next level. Because again, like, once I started closing deals, people would tell, other people about me. And then it just became, one of those things that just was, maintain consistency. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I think that's really important that you mentioned like just taking advantage of every opportunity, because I know there's a lot of real estate agents who, even that are brand spanking new, that will like deny opportunities, whether it's like a rental or a low priced home. And I'm like, you just got started, like, because what I do is I refer out a lot of leads. So I'm like, it might be somebody buying in $200,000, or might be a $1,200 rental, whatever the case may be. And they'll like turn it down. Oh no, I'm not really looking for that. Like, oh, okay. Like, what are you looking for? You got started last week.
Right, absolutely. And I will say that one of my clients, or so my very first client, she purchased the home. I think it was like 100, maybe like $35,000, $150,000. She referred me to one of her family members. They were looking to sell a house right over in Temple. And I think that, it was a property. It wasn't, the most expensive. It was a little distressed. And she needed to move her and her family to, something better. So I helped them, buy or sell their home. It wasn't, like the biggest deal. She was then looking to buy, like she, bought another, property. Nice. It wasn't a $500,000 home, but it was, a very nice renovated, property up in Alney. And then from there, no lie, she referred me 5 people that year. So my first year, I had 5 referrals from that one client, right? So you never know, where an opportunity is going to take you. And, case in point, like, you take a smaller deal to help somebody with something, they might come back and say, oh, you know what, like I have more land that I need to sell. You need to sell that at $1 million plus. So you never know. Like it's kind of one of those things. Like I never was a deal chaser. It was more about, providing a level of expertise and then just like an experience for people when I started. Yeah. And it still is. It still is about that. Even, I'm like 4+ years in the business, and there's like, I'm not one of those people who are just like, oh, well, I'm only working with $1 million or $500,000 client anymore. No, again, like, it's about, I'm passionate about what I do, and I love to, help people, achieve their dreams and goals.
And I appreciate that because all right, so we worked together on a client.
Yeah.
Adrian, love her. It's funny because she actually found me on YouTube and she was like, "Oh my God, I saw your video."
Yes, yeah, I love her.
But the purchase that she was making, it was around in the $200,000 price range, and I was like, "Who can I reach out?" And at this time, I was in Africa, so I'm like, "She wants to buy something right now. Who can I reach out to?" And so I originally reached out to Noelle, but I think she was somewhere else. I think she was on vacation. She was like, "Reach out to Terry." And I was like, okay, well, hopefully he even takes houses in this price range, because I've met a lot of agents that just don't. Like after they get to a certain point, they're like, oh no, I don't deal with this. So I was really happy that like, you were willing to take on, Adrian, and you guys like kind of just meshed and, got the deal done and it turned into other things. So it's like the compound effect, right? Like
the compound effect.
And I helped her purchase on one, so then she trusted me in the next coming purchases. But if you take that, whether it be a $90,000 house, $150,000 house, it may compound into other deals, like you said, and it may not just be that 150,000. It might lead to 5 deals, like you said, and maybe that's $1 million in volume. You know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah,
you have to treat everybody at every price point with the same respect and the same, just treat them good, because you never know what it leads to.
Absolutely. And let me tell you, well, one, thank you so much for that referral. And yeah, like that led to another opportunity. And then we just kind of like, clicked and meshed and like we found something in common about real estate that we actually really like. And it's just one of those things. I think she sees value in me and like my ambitions and my goals with real estate. So yeah, I'm definitely, like you said, you never know where an opportunity can take you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to kind of talk about your growth in terms of like your marketing, right? So you first started out with open houses, your sphere of influence, networking, referrals. So what are you doing now that you were doing differently before? Like, are you doing more? Are you doing less? Like, what is your main source of like marketing right now?
Yeah, so honestly, I would say when we went through the pandemic really hindered the ability to have open houses and stuff like that, and the ability to be out networking and whatnot. And I think like the biggest shift that we saw in the real estate industry is that, like more folks were going to video and pushing like video, social media marketing, which I've always, like done social media marketing. I've always kind of believed in that. Like, I did like the Facebook pages, Instagram I've always loved. I've always, I've actually connected with people through LinkedIn as well too. So, I'm very much on social media, but, like I would say now the bigger, marketing strategy for me has been definitely showcase or just being more personable, right? So not that I was not personable before, but just like inviting people to, uh, hear and learn about who you are, right? It goes beyond me getting people under contract, me, like going to closing and me just kind of celebrating the wins. Like people want to actually hear like the gritty parts about real estate, right? They want to actually be taken on these like, virtual video tours and shown a house in like 60 seconds or less. Or they kind of want tips around, like what should they do in this market? So I think like social media has definitely been a big push in having digital content, like a digital brand.
Yeah, no, I agree. And this is why, like, so I talk to a lot of different agents about social media. Like, that's my thing. Like, as you can see, I post a lot of videos.
Yes, you're inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, between YouTube and Instagram, those are my two main platforms. I'm on TikTok too, but like just posting videos consistently has brought in the most business for me. So that's why like agents will come to me and ask me different questions about social media, and I'm just like, hey, like, and one of the main questions they ask me is, should they separate their main Instagram account from their business? And I'm like, there's no reason, even though it's crazy because I did like an experiment. I told agents not to do this, like to not to separate your accounts, and I still did an experiment myself to see if I can handle both, and I literally but it
You
just,
said you literally couldn't?
no, I couldn't. No, it was too much. It was
That's
too much.
funny.
So like for me, I think it's better to just put it all in one, because you're showing the business, but you're also showing, like you said, the personable side. Like people want to peek inside your life. Like people want to see who your partner is. People want to see where you guys go. People want to like get into like what you do other than real estate, and that makes them relate to you. That's how you're able to connect with other people. So sometimes when I post things about, I don't know, whether it be sports or like whatever I post, like that is what is like the intro into, oh, okay, yeah, I'm also looking for a house conversation,
Right. And I honestly, like for me, it took probably it took a while for me to actually allow people into my personal life. Just from a discriminate, like I don't want to feel like I'm being discriminated upon because I, am gay. So it took a while for me to actually allow people to, be invited into that space. Because, like honestly, like in the real estate industry, I feel like I have, felt or experienced discrimination from, being Black. But then also just being, a gay person as well too. But I'm just like, what, like I want to be authentic, right? And I feel like I'm gonna have more people willing to work with me because I'm authentic versus those who don't. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm now. It's so funny because like I feel like I'm putting more out there on my business Instagram account, and I'm pretty much using that more so than my own personal, just like you said.
Yeah. One is gonna outweigh the other, you know what I mean? Because it's hard to, like, social media can be like a full-time job, like, and to still work that along with being an agent and doing the paperwork, going out the houses, negotiate. So like it's best to just, put your energy into one page or one platform and just go hard with that.
Right.
I want to touch real quick on the discrimination. So agents have asked the same, specifically Black agents that I've had on my channel, they all get asked the same question about like, how does being Black affect you in real estate? And for me, I always say the same thing. It's like, it's about what you focus on, right? There's certain factors that we can't control. And if you focus on those factors that you can't control, then you're going to have a hard time. But if you focus on the factors that you can control, whereas like who you work with and who you surround yourself with. And again, like what you said, the people that you attract, like you're going to attract people that want to work with you and that you want to work with them. Point blank.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I don't think too hard in the discrimination. Things are always going to happen. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah, so real quick, so I want to talk about you being an expert, being in real estate. What trends have you started to see in terms of the market on the buying and the selling side? Like what have you started to see with your clients and just the overall trend of real estate right now?
Yeah, so honestly, it's been a really interesting time, and I think that if you ask a lot of agents right now, that's probably the best word that they can use to summarize what we're experiencing now in the current real estate environment. Um, 2020, 2021, like those were, I feel like 2020 started off in an uncertain place. And then it just kind of, like a match, just like, was set off until bushes in a wildfire happens. Uh, and that wildfire carried through 2021, where we were seeing, um, the like quick, rapid changes in neighborhoods. Like, home prices were just going through the roof. Interest rates were still low. Now we've started to see interest rates climb, and they climbed quickly, right? I've been working with some people who started their journey last year. They kind of, towards the end of the year, they took a pause, just personally, and like their purchasing power has like changed within the past like 3 to 4 months, right? Like you're talking about people who may have originally started out getting pre-qualified for $250,000 mortgage at maybe like close to three and a half, 3.75, and now interest rates are pushing close to 6%. So like that's a big drastic change for someone was at the top of the budget at 250. Now their spending power has significantly decreased, right? So I think that like right now is just it's an interesting time from the standpoint that it's you're seeing interest rates rise, and then you're seeing what I'm experiencing with some of my clients, a lot of them actually, uh, there's still multiple offer like situations out here. Now we're not experiencing 15 to 20 like offers on one property. They might go down to like 3 to 4. But like there's still a lot of competition out here, and I think that also it's a tough time for buyers, because like they want to understand like why what can they do in order to get their offer accepted. And when people work with me, there are different strategies that I have in order to help you get there. But from a buyer perspective, it's tough. From a selling perspective, I think that you have to make sure that your house is in like the best. You have to put your best foot forward with the condition of your house, like when you go to list. Obviously, the turnkey homes, right? They're selling like within 48 hours, 72 hours of being on market, multiple offers. And like I said earlier, I think that we're tipping the scale on the number of offers and how high a property will sell for. Because like I would say, like last year I sold a property last summer where we put it on the market and it sold for $90,000 above market or above ask, right? So now I feel like the homes are selling now, they might get like 30 to 40 over ask versus like that anomaly of 100,000 above ask. So I think it's starting. I don't necessarily think that a crash is going to happen per se. I think I think like that's the wrong word to use. I think like normalizing or normalization of the market is going, a correction is going to happen as to where it's you're not going to see these extreme cases, right, where it's just like homes are being pushed up 100,000 above ask.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's something that I've been telling other people is like, when they ask me if a crash is going to happen, I'm like, well, there's definitely going to be a correction, but there's no way that you can compare what's happening now and what happened during COVID to what happened in 2008. That was a
Absolutely
different story.
Yeah, two different stories. And listen, I'm working with clients now, here in Philly, in, like around the counties surrounding Philly, even in South Jersey, with interest rates, pushing close to 6%, like the house, there's still multiple offers on houses. Like I have a client now who's like extremely frustrated, and they're at a decent price point. They're at like, $350,000, right? And like they're just like, and one of those things is like they're the amount of money that they have, to put down, right? They're capped, and they're just like, well, we can't, go crazy and spend, an additional like $50,000. We just don't have it, right? So, there's still, it's still a lot of competition out here. There's, a lot of different creative ways that you can still purchase a home. You just have to be, I think buyers now have to be open-minded, and then sellers also have to be realistic in terms of, what to expect when they put their home up for sale.
Right. So let's toot your horn a little bit. You've been getting deals closed. So what strategies have you used to actually put these offers in and get these offers accepted?
So well, for all of the tips, you have to work with me as a client. But
I like that. I like that.
But no, I want to say like real estate is I describe it, my strategy, I feel like, it's an art and science with real estate, right? Like there's like there are like a couple different ways that like a buyer can be prepared in order to purchase a home. I think that level setting or setting the expectation when you get that call to purchase, when I have a client who wants to work together on purchasing their home, there's like things that I inform them about in terms of like the market conditions. So like understanding the neighborhoods, right? And knowing where you purchase, like that is going to be critical to you being able to get into a home. Having a good connection with a lender, right? And making sure that your lender is able to communicate with not only the client, but also the agent as well, in terms of like what their spending power actually is. I think like, before we focused on a lot of our thoughts and process around a max pre-qual amount, right? And I think like now what needs to be heavily emphasized is explaining the payment to a client, right? Especially with higher rates, because when you go from like one neighborhood to another, you can see a significant difference in taxes. So understand like the overall monthly payment, and then in terms of getting your offer accepted, it's just being creative. Like there are a lot of people who are, waiving inspections, in which, like I try to counsel my clients and say like, hey, listen, like this is going to have to be something that you have to be comfortable with, right? So if you're not comfortable with doing that, and listen, I've purchased, several homes and stuff like that. I've, always been afforded the ability to have an inspection. So I get the hesitancy with not being able to have one. But if that's something that, like is out of scope for you, like in these multiple offer situations, like, you might want to reconsider like what it is that you're trying to purchase. And I think again, like just level setting with people and just kind of informing them, where things currently stands. I think honestly, a lot of the times it may take for a buyer to lose out on like one or two houses in order for them to get it, right? Yeah. By the third house, they're just like, okay, I know what I got to do now. Or it's one of those things where they have to shop for something that they can, put a little work into. Maybe do a facelift on a bathroom or a kitchen. And honestly, like that right now is not a bad idea, because, think of it this way. Your neighbor who spends $30,000 above list price on a property, and then you spend $30,000 less on the list price of a property, and you put those $30,000 into improvements in the house, you're going to be right back where they are.
Exactly.
So like for a lot of my clients now, especially when they're hitting that, top tier of their budget, I really speak to them and say like, hey, listen, like you might want to consider, purchasing something that just might need, like a little bit of TLC. It might be a 5-year-old renovation or something like that.
Yep.
You can paint cabinets, you can, repaint walls and make a big difference.
Yeah, so that's actually one of a couple of those things is what basically me and Adrian did the first house that we saw. So this is the client that just for you guys that I referred to, Terry. The first house, I mean, we saw a bunch of houses, made offers on a bunch of houses, and then we were getting beat out left and right. And she was like, "Oh my God, what is happening?" And I was like, "Listen, the market is hot. This is what's going on. We're
Right.
getting outbid, this and the third." So at one point it was like, okay, instead of us looking at the turnkey houses like you said and paying over market, let's look at some houses that need some repairs. So we started doing that, making offers on those properties, still getting beat out. So then she was like, you know what, I think I'm ready to consider waiving inspection. And it was so hard for her to even say it. She's like, I think I might actually waive inspection. Like, listen, like if it's something, and the thing is that I not only did I try to help her understand, like, this might be a decision that you may not be totally comfortable with, but like you said, in order to get the house that you're looking for, let's analyze what the priority is. If this is the house that you want, you may have to waive inspection. And I also trusted her judgment too, because she's invested before. So she kind of understands, and she goes through those houses thoroughly. Like if she ever sorry about these noises, I'm getting these emails. If she ever brought her husband on one of the tours, like they go through it like thoroughly. So I'm like, you guys know what you're doing. Like, you get it. So that's basically how we were able to get that one house accepted, is by waiving inspections. And there was a couple other things that we did. We were allowing buyers or sellers to stay in the house for a certain period of time, trying like the lease back thing. So like you said, it's about being creative, being a little bit more open-minded than a traditional, I put in an offer and that's it. Like, you know what I mean? So
right.
Yeah. So I think we kind of covered that. The potential crash that people keep talking about is really going to be a correction. Another thing I wanted to ask you is, well, you kind of talked about it, why you think agents fail the most. Can you kind of just reiterate what you were saying?
Yeah, honestly, I think that being an agent requires a lot of patience. Patience, getting, you know, patience, getting, well, I would say taking advantage of every opportunity, right? I think that we all have these grandiose ideas. HGTV makes it look easy.
Yes.
A lot of the times, when people actually hear of agents saying, "Oh, like I just made a $6,000, $10,000 commission," people's like ears turn up, and they're just like, "Wait, what? As a real estate agent, like that's what you make?" And more goes into that, right? Like there's a lot of, you know, uh, other work that needs to be done. Like as an agent, it's just not, you selling a house and then that's it. Like, like there's, administrative things that need to be done. There's marketing. Like you have to reinvest in yourself from an educational perspective. And then, yeah, I think that, patience is one. I think like the drive is second. Just knowing that like, every deal is not going to be $500,000. And even sometimes like those $500,000 clients, like, that's going to take time in order to, or nourish those relationships, right? Not everybody comes in the door and just is like, okay, well, I'm just going to buy a house tomorrow and it's going to be 500,000. Like, some people are like 3 to 6 months away from that. Some people might be a year away from that, right? So it's kind of, you have to actually be willing to take advantage of every opportunity that's in front of you. That makes sense. Not every opportunity is going to make sense, but I think that, you having to be open-minded. And then just honestly, I feel like a lot of people just don't put themselves out there. Like you have to put yourself out there.
Yeah, I agree. I think patience is probably the number one thing.
Patience is because like, listen, like they're, even though we had it really good in the past, 2 years, and like your phone was probably ringing pretty consistently. Like this year, the start of this year, probably posed a challenge to people. Like, and then honestly, this current climate that we're in now, it poses a challenge to, like a lot of agents and like working with their clients, right? So it's definitely not going to be, every month you're going to have 4 or 5 deals. There are going to be months where it's going to be a struggle for like you to close a deal and stuff like that, and you just can't throw in the towel when things get tough. You have to have discipline also.
Right. And I'm gonna get back to that, but I wanted to touch on the point that you said about having like a good lender, right? So
Yes.
if I remember correctly, you said you would want your lender to, or the lenders should be able to educate them, right?
Yeah.
Not just on purchasing price or whatever, but the monthly payment. So what are some, this is more of a selfish question, but I always like to ask agents now that I'm more on the, so everybody on my channel knows that I'm a real estate agent, but now that I work mainly as a mortgage lender or mortgage loan officer, what are your main values that you want in a lender? Like, what are the biggest things that you want in a great lender?
Yeah, honestly, for me, it's a partnership. I love meeting with people. And like I talk to lenders, a lot of lenders I've had conversations with. And it's kind of like, I build a relationship with my mortgage partners, right? It's kind of, one of those things where I feel like they're able to explain the process to my clients, one, and then it's just kind of like they allow me to be able to be the realtor, and I allow them to be the lender, right? But we, are able to blend and marry those relationships together in order to help the client achieve their goals. I've worked with several larger institutions where, the client gets pre-qualified and I never hear from the lender at all, like not even like one conversation. Yeah. And I mean, like, so for me, like I like the smaller intimate relationships, that I have with, the people who are in my network, from a lending perspective. But yeah, just being, having that synergy together. I know, like, if I'm having difficulty with the client, I'm able to call, you up, Lillian, like, hey, listen, like, I need you to explain, such and such to this client. And you're willing to jump in there and, help out and do the work as well too. And not someone who's just going to just leverage and look at the agent as just like, okay, you just need to bring me clients, right? So
yeah, it has to be a mutually beneficial relationship. And I think a lot of things that I've been learning now that I'm on the lending side is like, you have to be, communication is like the biggest thing. Like for me, when I was doing the agent side heavily, I was like, you need to let me know what's going on. Like, you need to be, just like you said, you need to be just as involved in my client as I am, right?
Absolutely.
So even for me, like as a lender now, when I touch the client, I touch the agent. I talk to the client, I talk to the agent. Like that communication needs to be like so streamlined. And even now, like, I try to go above and beyond. Like even when we're putting in offers, I'll call the listing agent and be like, hey, like this person is good. They have a strong, you know what I mean? Just kind of back up the agent and the borrower in the process and just reassure the agent, introduce myself, you know what I mean? And it just kind of helps build just, that potential relationship between you and the listing agent to now just add a little bit more security to that offer, just a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've had a couple of my partners do that as well too. Like, call the listing agents when an offer is being presented. Like there have been like so many agents that I've talked to or I've done deals with when they were just like, wow, like, I got a call from the lender and, like, that was awesome. Like they, like really gave me the confidence that this person, like your client will be able to get to the settlement table. So like just having that, like connection really helps. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very important. So thank you for answering that. That's really a selfish question for me, but I always want to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're getting to the end of things, and I just want to know, what is your long-term goal with real estate or in general? What are you looking to do in the future?
Yeah, so right now, so there's oh my God, there's so many things that you can get into in real estate. One of the things that I did when I got in, I purchased another property like right away. It was a rental property, and then I also actually house hacked. So, I acquired doors, through me moving. So meaning like we started in one house for a couple of years. We then moved on to another one, but we kept the previous house. We rented it out. I purchased another property before quitting my full-time job because I, had a W-2. And yeah, and that, quickly became like two doors that we had under our portfolio, aside from what we lived in from a primary perspective. So I love investing in real estate. Now I moved on to short-term rental.
Okay.
Yeah, so the short-term rental space, I have an Airbnb in the Poconos. I'm looking to invest in an Airbnb in probably like the beach areas.
Okay.
And then also I'm throwing my hand into rehabbing and renovating because so my house that I currently live in, I practice what I preach, right? Equity. So I purchased a home that, was a grandmom home in a beautiful neighborhood that I loved and wanted to be in. Renovated it, paid well underneath the market value, fully renovated it, had a ton of equity, post renovation. And now in this climate, like the house is worth, probably another, $200,000 more. Yeah. And so, being as I did that, the renovation, I was just like, you know what? I want to try my hands into rehabbing. Again, I feel like that's the architect, side of me that always was in there, wanted to design homes and stuff like that. So hopefully down the road, I want to still, have my hand in real estate, be doing bigger construction deals, but then also, doing my own projects and still having this, portfolio of, assets, real estate as well. So
you're basically gonna just continue to invest.
I'm going to continue to invest, and continue helping people to realize their dreams.
That's amazing. Honestly, I think like you're a great example of what real estate agents should do, because a lot of them will help sell and buy a bunch of houses and never invest themselves, which is kind of like counterintuitive.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
Because being an agent is so transactional, but if you start to invest, now you're allowing yourself some type of time freedom. Like you said, you're getting rent like that's going to be coming in every month. You know what I mean?
Right.
Aside from vacancies, obviously, but that's going to be coming in every month. Whereas
Right.
if you're a real estate agent, you might not get paid 1 month, but if you have your rental income to back you up, I think that's
Absolutely.
so. And I think you should actually post more about like being on the investing side, because that is something that people want to do. They want to start doing the Airbnb or short-term rental thing. I literally had a client yesterday, and I'm glad you brought that up. But he was literally looking for. He wanted me to connect him. I just pre-approved him. He wanted me to connect him with a real estate agent who has some experience or knowledge in Airbnb, because that's what his special, like that's what he wants to do. But he's in North Jersey, so
Okay.
Yeah.
I can probably connect him to a Compass agent up there. So yeah, let me know. But
we'll talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, that's another, plug or whatever, like my brokerage. I definitely love them, and I'm able to connect people across the country who are looking for, real estate nationally with, like a great Compass agent. But back to me. It's one of those things where I love, investing. Like one of the biggest things that I learned about real estate, and I think like aside from being an agent, is that like real estate will change your life, right? And I think that, from a community perspective, I think like we have to be willing to take the leap and invest in real estate. I think a lot of the times we kind of get in our own way and say like, well, I'm only going to be in this city for like 2 years. It's not going to be my permanent like home. I'm not going to live here forever. And it's just like one of those things where people need to understand, like, you know, you're always going to, well, for the most part, it's always going to be an appreciating asset, right? And when you're ready to go, you can either sell that asset, you can keep it as a rental and earn income off of it, or do, you know, like whatever. But it's just one of those things I feel like, you know, when I started investing in real estate, I just saw how it changed my life, and just that's why I want to continue to invest.
Yeah, definitely. Well, congrats to you and all your success. We're definitely going to need a part 2 to this in like 6 months to a year to kind of get an update on your investments, because I want to dive deep into that. I want to talk about property management, how you manage your rentals, you know, how you flip, how you do the air or the short-term rental thing. Like, that's going to have to be a whole separate episode. So
Yeah,
be prepared for that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, I'm definitely learning a lot on the rehab side. I'm doing my first project now, and it's been a journey. But you know, I wanted to extend myself to grace anyway, and just like be uh, a sponge and just learn. And even with mistakes, like that's you know where we grow the most, when we, you know, like make mistakes.
Mhm.
So yeah, I will definitely have a conversation part 2 around that side.
Definitely, definitely. Well, let me not hold you any longer. Please let the people know how they can find you. Any agents that may want to connect, that may be interested in joining your team, or any clients that may want to connect, how can they connect with you?
Yeah, so check me out online. You can reach me at theupshurgroup.com. My last name is spelled Upshur. My Instagram handle is Terry RE Philly, and that's Terry with a Y. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok. I'm getting there. I'm working on it, but yeah, you know, like, you know, connect with me on any of those avenues, or you can feel free to email me directly at Terry TERRY .Upshur UPSHUR at compass.com.
Perfect. And I will link to all that in the description. So make sure you just email that to me right after this, and I'll put it right up. Thank you so much, Terry. I really appreciated this. I'm glad we had this conversation for other people to learn from you. And yeah, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate you as well as your partnership and your support. So, you know, love it.
You're welcome. Thanks again, Terry. So I will talk to you later, right? Have a good day.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.